Hey y'all, I hope you're doing good today. So I know I haven't been on here in a very long time, and I thought I would share a little bit about what's been going on in my life, right? So my daughter got really sick recently, and it was the longest lasting illness that she's ever had, and it was very intense. And thank God she's on the upswing of that and just about over it. I've tried to be very careful to not catch it, because typically she can kick an illness a lot quicker than I can. But anyway, so far so good. And I said something to her, just as a part of parenting and teaching your children. I said, we're talking about medicine, okay? And I said, a little bit is good for you, however much it is you need. And I said, but too much is bad for you. And I don't remember the conversation, the context, why I said that or whatnot, but that's very much applicable, very much fits my current circumstances. And I wonder if you can relate to this. So after going through some stuff in my life, I started out feeling pretty motivated and just giving myself what I needed, time to rest, positivity from different outlets and things like that, right? Spending a lot of time with God, for sure. A lot of prayer, taking care of my body. My exercise routine was, I don't even know how I did it, but I would get up in the morning and I would walk outside I do a mixture of walking and jogging for probably 15 minutes or so, almost an hour. And then I would have a little coffee and I would have my one meal for the day, whatever I wanted. And then I would have some time to do some personal video journals, or I would make videos for my channel. That's about the time I started my channel, and I very much enjoy doing that. And then as the evening rolled around, I would go to typically the gym, and I'm not really a gym person. I prefer just to do things at home or outdoors. But anyway, I would go to the gym, and all I did was the treadmill, and I have a treadmill now. But I would jog on the treadmill for anywhere from a mile to 2.5 miles, and this was every day. And I lost weight very quickly, and I felt wonderful. I was walking outdoors in the morning like that. I had a lot of sunshine, and I personally feel like that's very good for you. Everything within reason, but I just felt really good, and I felt very healthy. And this worked for some time. And then, I was still in a transition stage in my life. And so things were changing. My daughter was getting older and all this. So she had things with her schedule that were changing and all this. And long story short, it just it was no longer feasible for me to exercise like that. And this was during the wintertime that, we came down with a lot of really big illnesses. And that can certainly interrupt your routine. So that's what happened, and then I gained my weight back, and I've just sort of been treading water, you might say, treading water ever since then. And I've still been prioritizing self-care, because I didn't do that for a very long time. But I've come to a place now where I wouldn't say that I've been stuck, but I have finally been able to label or name what it is that I've been feeling, and that is overwhelm. I've been feeling a lot of overwhelm, and I think that we have to be real careful. There's this old saying too much of a good thing is not good for you, even if it's a good thing. And so, like, for me, I was taking in so much content, both online on YouTube and reading, and looking through the Bible and trying to study bits and pieces of that, and just in contemplation mode all the time in my mind. And I enjoy that. I've always been that way my whole life. But what wound up happening is this combination of so much was just overwhelm. And in a way, I think about movies like Bruce Almighty, and that's just one of many, where, there's a point made in the movie that there's value in working with your hands and in simplicity, right? So, like in that movie, God is played by Morgan Freeman, if my memory serves me right. And he's a janitor, right? So he's mopping, and he was teaching Bruce that there's a certain satisfaction that comes with that. And I agree. And there's this other saying, idle hands are the devil's playground. And I think that if we really, it's a place of privilege to be able to have extra time in our life to even sit and contemplate the bigger questions of things. It really is, because a lot of people are treading water financially and, just living paycheck to paycheck, and not even that sometimes. And their thoughts are focused on where their next meal is going to come from and things like that. So it is a luxury and it's a privilege. And I wouldn't say I've been in a position of struggling, but I did come from very much a blue collar working family, and we did not have extra money whatsoever. And my parents both worked very, very hard, and I was raised to do the same. And I have worked very, very hard in my life as well. And I'm someone that believes, per my own experience, that if you work really hard and you stay dedicated and you're not too proud to scrub toilets at your workplace or whatever it is, if you're willing to really put in the work, it does pay off. I think that, of course there are exceptions. There's different circumstances or whatnot that come up, and, that a person may feel like it doesn't pay off in every circumstance, but overall I feel like it does. And so what that can do is it can afford you, a different way of life, a different career, and you can grow in that manner and get to a place where you have a little more time. And times where it's at, again, I was raised, my dad always told me, if you're going shopping, when you're looking at the cost of things, don't just simply see it as a dollar amount cost. See it as how much time in your life you're going to have to trade to own this thing. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're making $8 an hour and what you're looking at is $16 in the store, are you willing to trade 2 hours of your life for this item? And that's a great way to learn self-control and the true value of things. You know what I mean? And so I got way off track, but I guess these are just things that needed to come out apparently. But I wouldn't say that I haven't been busy. I have been busy. But whether you're busy, physically or not, your mind can, sometimes have freedom depending on what your job is. Some jobs require your mind to be on your job. Other jobs, like mopping a floor, physical type jobs, you have a freedom within your mind, which is pretty cool. But anyway, some of us are just, because of our circumstances, we have the luxury of thinking about what we want to think about in the moment. And so I've really been in deep contemplation for some time, and I'm very thankful that God has revealed a lot to me, and I have learned a lot, and I have put a lot of puzzle pieces together. I've connected a lot of dots. I still have a whole lot of questions. I have worked at coming to a place of peace that I won't have all the answers, and that's okay. But but again, I've just been in a position, a little bit of overwhelm. And I think that the effect that can have on you, maybe it can produce many different effects. I'm not sure, but one effect that it can have on you is that it sort of just makes you lose momentum. It sort of almost makes you want to retreat. Okay? And so I have just, I think anytime we go through a time of transition, we have to recalibrate and figure out, what's the new state of balance going to be? What does that really look like? And for a while, we may swing way far the other way until we can kind of figure that out and get balanced again in our new environment, in our new job, in our new family, in our new friend group, in our new whatever it is, okay? Mindset, even. It can just take a while. And so, yes, I have been feeling very overwhelmed, and I have retreated. And it's nice, but at the same time, it's not somewhere you want to stay forever. You want to re-engage with the world again, and you know that there's a lot more in life to go and do and see and experience, and that sounds good. But yeah, I'll keep this kind of short and just share that. I hardly ever dream anymore. All growing up, I would dream constantly, and a lot of them were very chaotic. I had some recurring dreams. I had some that felt like they were so important. They were more than a dream. It was like a message and things like that. And then I went through a period of not dreaming hardly at all anymore. And this was after I had my concussion, which that right there, my concussion story, I ought to make a video all about that, the details of it, because it was life-changing, literally. But I had a bizarre dream last night about this bug. I think it might have been a spider, actually, that crawled into my clothes and bit me. And then I was trying to, get it out of my clothes. You just sort of wonder, like, is that symbolic and significant, or just some random something that your mom put together, from the things that you take in. I've always been fascinated with dreams and symbolism and how things affect our mind in a subconscious way where we don't even realize. And anyway, and I have also very much been on a spiritual journey, and that probably more than anything, the spiritual aspect is what has been so overwhelming to me. Understanding that maybe sometimes the things that we used to perceive as fairy tales are more than that, are not so much, But anyway, I've got some ideas for some videos, and I think that I did really well when I shared my book with you all, my favorite book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I went through that book on my channel, and I think I wound up putting all those videos in a playlist. I don't even know if they're still visible. I need to go and check. But I like having some type of a prompt to, anchor, I guess you might say, your mind into, so that you can, have a point of reference or a starting point to then let your thoughts flourish. And I think that's really fun to do. And I have a great interest in symbolism and folklore and fairy tales and psychology and things like that as well. So I may do that again. And yeah, so I hope that you're doing well. I'd love to hear from you if you feel called to share whatever's on your mind. And I just thank you so much for coming to listen. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.